Get a lot of questions about what my photography setup is for my micro specimen, so I thought I'd go ahead and show you. The camera is a Nikon D850. The reason why I chose the Nikon D850 is because it had the highest megapixel um, capacity of any of the cameras that they have. It's not necessary, obviously, to have as high a megapixel count as you can get. This is a professional camera, but you can get basically any model Nikon camera will do the job, or Canon, or whatever your choice is. I prefer Nikon, but that's neither here nor there. The macro lens that I like to use is this one. It's the Sigma 105 millimeter 1 to 2.8 macro. It has optical stabilizers, which is nice. So if you're in the field, you can use the optical stabilizer options, which are down here. When I'm doing it in a studio setup, I keep the optical stabilizers off because actually I found that can create some weird effects when I'm stacking photos, so I just don't use it. But it's nice in the field to use the optical stabilizers because, as you can see, I'm shaking this camera now. And so if you were using this camera in the field, those little motors inside the lens will help keep everything nice and balanced for you. And this is a pretty affordable lens. Obviously, Tamron, Nikon, Canon, they all have their own versions of these lenses. But the Sigma one was very affordable. It had very good reviews, and I've been very happy with the outcomes from that. I also have this little guy here. It's it's a Nikon macro lens. Here it is. It's the Nikkor 40 millimeter 1 to 2.8. I don't use this one very much anymore. In fact, I should probably go ahead and sell it and try to put that towards some other equipment that I've been trying to get. But the reason why I don't like this one is this one does not have the focus range of the Sigma. So with the Sigma, I'm able to be further out away from the sample or the specimen that I'm photographing, and it allows me to get better light in on that specimen versus this one where you've got to get really right on top of it, and then it kind of interferes with the lights and it'll create more highlights and shadows and things. So it's not that it's a bad lens, it's just the way I'm using it in a studio, it doesn't work as well. In the field, maybe with natural sunlight and stuff, you'll get better results with it. But that's just how I use it. But this is my favorite setup here, and this is the Wii Macro. So that is a Nikon 10X objective. I probably shouldn't have turned the camera like that. And you can see the model numbers. There is the OFN22WD, and this is what's called an infinity objective. And I highly recommend using an infinity objective because it, I won't go too deep in the weeds on that, but just that's what I would recommend. Now this is the Wii Macro Rail, and this is a Wii Macro, call it an extension tube or an adapter or whatever you want. I had to kind of come up with my own adapters up here to get this to properly fit. Obviously, any objectives can have different threads and things like that, but there's so many options on Amazon. You just got to make sure that you get the ones that are right for you. And it's usually, it's a larger thread to a smaller thread type adapter. Also, there is a reverse Raynox lens in here, and I will try to get, I don't think, short of taking this apart. Oh, there it is. There it is. So there you go. Actually, that's probably an adapter. But there is a reverse Raynox objective on here. I'll take a picture or something of the box to show you what that is. But there's another lens in here that you just can't see at the moment. And then this is where the camera mounts on the back here. And the way this works is it hooks into my computer, and I can control both. So another reason why I use the Nikon D850 is because the Nikon D850 has, you can plug it into your computer, and the computer can actually control the camera, and it will control the rail at the same time using certain software. So what I can do is I can set the nearest point and the furthest point on macro rail, and then I can tell it how big I want the steps to be. You know, you can do it, 1 millimeter steps, or you can do 10 millimeter steps, and everywhere in between. I actually do a 1/4 of a millimeter step, oftentimes, which may be overdoing it for some specimens. I'll have to take a closer look at it, but regardless, you can set those steps, and that will determine how many shots you're gonna take. And then what you'll end up doing is taking those shots, putting into another set of software that will then stack the shots. And I can show you that process separately. This video is probably already too long, but I do want to show couple other things here. One is, you'll see I've got this wood clamp on here, and this actually here, I can take this wood clamp off and show you that depending on what lens I use, I can slide this back and forth. So I sort of just came up with this idea to allow me to have more focus range with this table here. And then originally at some point I was going to put a bolt in there, but actually I found that it was just easier to just put this wood clamp on there, and it doesn't move, and I'm good to go with that. I need a better setup for this. This goes up and down, which allows me to move the specimens up and down, but I want it to also go left and right. So I'm looking for a better option for this. Some of this is still prototype type stuff here. And then last but not least, I've got these 2 lights here. So I light it from both sides, the left and the right, to try and prevent the shadows and the highlights from getting too out of control. If you were to only light one side of the specimen, you would have a bunch of shadows, and it wouldn't be as good a photo, in my opinion. And then these are also variable light, so you can go really bright or you can go much dimmer. And then depending on, if you're using with a microscope objective, you have no aperture settings. The aperture is what it is because it's not a typical camera lens. It's always open. Whereas lighting with a camera lens, where you can open or close your aperture, you can do, all kinds of different things and get different results. So anyway, that's the basic setup that I use. And I'll do another video about the software and how that works. But this is what I've been using today. I'm pretty happy with it. I used to use a manual rail that was very time consuming, and the results just weren't as good as I wanted them to be. So hopefully this is informative for some people.